Hi, my name is Beata Lipska and I'm developer advocate here at Trilitech. And yeah, today we have a very special guest. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hello, hello. Doing fantastic this morning, Beta.
Okay, so let's jump into a very quick introduction to Thirdweb, what it is, because you work for Thirdweb and we work with you and we want to provide our builders some cool tech. So yeah, I'm all yours. Go ahead, Joe.
Cool thing. Yeah, again, thank you for having us here today. We're going to talk a little bit about Thirdweb. I'm Joe. I am a solutions engineer here at Thirdweb, and I handle the day-to-day connecting developers with tooling for building on Web3. So, as Beta mentioned, we're going to go a little bit of an overview. Let me share my screen here, and we'll go through a little bit about what Thirdweb is, how it's useful, how you guys can integrate it in your everyday building cycle. So I'm sharing my screen here. I'm Thirdweb. You guys might have heard of us. We've been around for almost 4 years now, a little over 4 years. And so I always like to start off with, what do you need to build in Web3? Every builder in Web3 currently has a couple of key functions that are needed in order to be successful in their project building, in their business growing in the Web3 space. And we've seen this trend that there's core buckets that every builder needs when working in Web3, right? So what are these buckets? Everything a builder needs is things like front ends. You need opportunities and flows for connecting your audience, your users, into your applications that you built. So this is going to be all of things that you see day to day, like wallet connections, right? You probably want to expand these into things like social logins, make it very Web2 friendly as well. And you probably want these things to be branded or available across your tooling, no matter what you're developing in, right? So that's one bucket, is all of these kind of front end connection pieces. Next up, you have things on your back end, right? You need things for API calls to the blockchain so that way you can start interacting with it. You're going to need a way for your backends to interact with your app and the chain, right? Act as that mediary point between the two. So as you build out, you have your users log in, they click some buttons, trigger some transactions, and you need a way to call those from your app on the backend side and trigger them on chain. So that's another piece. And finally, we need the smart contracts themselves. On blockchain, everything's governed by smart contracts, whether you're doing NFT projects, token projects, even gaming projects where you might need on-chain representation of point systems, leaderboards, even user accounts, right? These can all be handled with smart contracts. And so these three buckets are the core tooling pieces that we see people need. And there's some layers on infrastructure that we see everyone who builds in Web3 can benefit from. So these are going to be things like indexers, right? For data querying. This is going to be things like RPC calls. If you are familiar with Web3 development, you know every on-chain transaction, whether it's a read or write, goes through an RPC. And so this is something that everyone needs no matter what you're building. And so we at Thirdweb, we decided, hey, we saw all these kind of opportunities and these pieces of areas that people need, these pieces of tooling. And so we said, okay, let's put it all together. And so when we think about what is Thirdweb, Thirdweb is a full stack development platform. And this means you have everything from your front ends, your back ends, your on-chain, and your infrastructure level tooling to build any Web3 application on any platform. So that means you can build native games with Unreal Engine, Unity SDKs. You can build mobile web app. If you are doing some Python, you can use our SDKs, JavaScript, TypeScript, React. All of these different avenues and tooling is available to you through Thirdweb. And so here we kind of outlined a little bit of the buckets that I mentioned earlier, the front end pieces, the back end pieces, on chain and infrastructure. And so again, front end, this is everything that your user is going to interact with, when they come into your app. So this is going to be things like your wallet connections. You're going to have emails, social logins, phones, smart accounts, ecosystem wallets for branded usage. You're going to have our universal bridge component. So you can do easy fiat on ramps. You can do bridge swaps. You can do This is going to be your end-to-end payment systems. And then again, for backend is something called our engine instance. And so this is a backend blockchain API that you guys can query and call against and say, hey, I want to kick off some transactions through a backend flow after a user clicks some buttons. Maybe some data state changes happen and I want to kick off these flows. Guess what? Engine is going to be your best friend here. So that way you can do automatic nonce management, automatic gas management, all this cool stuff. And then again, on-chain. So as I mentioned, everything on Web3 and on-chain is going to be governed by smart contracts. So you're going to need ways to deploy contracts, which we have. We have a whole host of pre-builts that you guys can use as well for getting up and running even quicker. So very common use cases like 721 projects, 755 projects. If you're doing things like votes, fund splitting, like pretty much anything you can think of, marketplaces, we have templates and contracts for you to get up and running super quickly. Of course, you can bring in your own and still use all of our tooling on Etherlink, on Thirdweb, as much as you want. So no problem there. And then the infra layer at the bottom here, like I mentioned, every individual needs an RPC, which Thirdweb has something called our edge network. You can think of it as adding more lanes to a highway with traffic. We route your traffic to the least congested lane at the time of the transaction. Really helpful. And it's all through Etherlink. And then we have our insights, which is our indexer product. So you guys can query against this indexer, get all the data you need, and then from there, make your dashboards, do your business decisions from this infra level layer as well. And finally, which we haven't talked about, is Nebula, our AI agent. So AI is everywhere, folks. It's not going away. It is here to stay. It is the future of coding, the future of business. And so if you want to stay up on the latest and greatest, Nebula is going to be your ticket to on-chain AI agents. Really cool stuff here. And so again, all of these toolings work with Etherlink. And so we actually have something really cool called our chainlist page. And so chainlist page with Etherlink, we have all of the information you need to get started building on Etherlink. With Thirdweb, you can go to thirdweb.com/Etherlink and you can get access to this chainlist page, see all the tooling available to you. You can click on some of these links like these learn mores to get taken directly to Etherlink's ecosystem, their docs, their website, all of that cool stuff. We have things like RPCs here so you can actually get started with this right from the beginnings. That's Thirdweb in a nutshell. That's how you guys can use Thirdweb with Etherlink to build the best production grade apps in Web3.
That's brilliant. All the links will be in the description down below, and I think we can tease a little bit next sessions that we're going to record very soon. So you mentioned Nebula. For sure, we're going to have like a separate episode on Nebula, but we're going to start slow. So first of all, we're going to go through our wallet connection, then a universal bridge, etc. And I think one of the last ones would be Nebula itself. But as you can see, there's a full set of tooling infra that you can use out of the box using Etherlink and Thirdweb. So yeah, stay tuned for next episode, which would be about the wallet connection. Thanks, Joe.
Cool. Thank you, Beta.
I see you soon. All right. Bye.
Bye.